lied about a miscarriage to cover my cheating, my husband's revenge exposed me to everyone. Everyone lies about marriage, and I feel like that's why marriages have problems. If we only told the truth to intending couples, they'd be prepared for what was to come. And more importantly, if only we let go of the small-minded traditional view of marriage, things would be a lot better. The reality of marriage is that at one point, either the man and the woman will become exhausted or even bored with the other. And sometimes both of them even feel that way at the same time. If only we could compromise for a little and even be understanding, we wouldn't have so many broken marriages. That's exactly what affected my marriage. My husband was unwilling to compromise even for a tiny bit. He was a stiff man who was so stuck up and obsessed with doing the right thing that he didn't care about all the years and efforts we've invested in our relationship. My name, Emily, and I say it boldly because I honestly don't even care anymore. My husband has already embarrassed me to the world, so I'm not really concerned about my public image anymore. He has completely ruined me, and why? Just because I didn't want to remain stuck. My marriage was becoming dull. Mark and I had been married for about 7 years, and I was honestly exhausted with the daily routine. I didn't feel the spark anymore. I felt like I now had a roommate and not a husband. I couldn't live like that. I couldn't live without excitement, and I needed that. Which was why when my coworker Alex tried to kiss me in the elevator at work, I didn't pull away. Alex always had his eyes on me, and he was more than happy to always help me when I needed assistance. He knew I was married, so he never made any advances. He was also married, but I don't think that was holding him back. It was obvious that he was interested in me. I was just at work that day, and I felt every nerve in my body aching with desire. I had been feeling this way a lot, and sure, I tried to satisfy myself by having intimate moments with my husband, but I wasn't attracted to him anymore, so nothing he did could satisfy me. Sometimes he would even try to touch me, but I didn't feel anything. So our sex life slowly faded away. But while I was feeling so turned on at work, I saw Alex and I knew that I wanted him. I kept looking at him, and he noticed. When I saw him heading to the elevator, I quickly followed him. He asked if I needed anything, and I told him maybe, but I didn't say anything after that. As we were in the elevator, I unbuttoned the top of my shirt, showing off my cleavage. I guess Alex was feeling just as turned on as me, because after seeing the green light that I was flashing at him, he soon turned to me and leaned forward. He planted a sweet kiss on my lips, and that was more satisfying than whatever sensual moment I had had with my husband in over a year. I don't even know what I was thinking. I wasn't even worried about someone walking into the elevator. I just wanted to feel good. After we got out of the elevator, we couldn't wait, so we went to his office, and that was where we felt every part of each other. And after that day, Alex became my go-to person. I liked how he made me feel, and how he made me moan and call out his name. He made me feel something, unlike my husband. And things were going well. You want to know what the ironic thing about life is? You can be so careful. You can plan everything properly, pretend, lie, and show only the parts you want the person you are lying to see. But when it is time for you to be exposed or caught, it will be because of the most trivial and simplistic of details that you forgot or overlooked. And that was what happened to me. Alex and I were frolicking with each other as frequently as we breathed, and I was never worried or even bothered by it. To me, it was one of those things you did to keep your marriage going. My husband wasn't sexually appealing to me anymore, so I needed to get my appeal somewhere else because if I didn't, I would become a scrawny and bitter person. And I'm telling you, it was working. I would be satisfied from my time with Alex, and when I returned home, Mark would try to make sensual advances. I didn't even care. I just let him do what he wanted, and he was okay with that. And I wasn't bothered whether I was satisfied by him or if I felt anything because I was already satisfied from my time with Alex. Everything was going well. My marriage was going smoothly. But I guess my husband wanted more. So one night when he tried having a romantic moment with me, I just let him have his way. He stopped and asked me what was wrong. I told him that nothing was wrong and that he should continue. He told me that he would have preferred it if I was involved in the activity instead of just lying back with an indifferent demeanor. He told me that I even slept off sometimes while he was doing the deed. I turned the whole thing around, telling him that perhaps I fell asleep because I was tired from a very busy day at work. I told him that he should be thankful that he was getting as much action as he was, because there were marriages that men could go entire months without having an intimate moment with their wives. He asked me if that was what I wanted, and I told him I couldn't care less. He scoffed and walked away. That was the last time my husband touched me in almost a month, and throughout that time, Alex and I didn't take a pause. We were sleeping with each other almost every day, and it was very wonderful. I enjoyed every moment of it, but then I missed my period, and I was honestly very worried. I was worried, and I went to run tests just to be safe. It was revealed that I was pregnant. You should have seen the way my nurse who handed me the result congratulated me, but I was speechless. I was shocked. Shocked is an understatement. I was overwhelmed and terrified out of my mind. It's hilarious now that I think about it. Why was I so shocked and overwhelmed? Alex wasn't using protection. I told him that I didn't like condoms because they reduced the intensity of the pleasure. I set the parameters for something like a pregnancy to happen, yet I was so shocked when I found out that I was pregnant. It made me terrified. I felt so cold, so the first thing I did was go home. I didn't know what to do. I knew I didn't want a child. I never wanted one, and it was something I discussed with Mark before we got married, which was why we didn't have a child. I had been on birth control since before Mark and I even got married, and made sure to renew it when it expired. But my sex life with my husband wasn't exactly blossoming when my birth control expired a year prior, so I didn't see the need to renew it. I guess that ignorance was something that had come to bite me. When I got home that day, I didn't even bother about dinner. I just got in bed and fell asleep. When I woke up the next morning, I was acting very dull. I didn't feel like going to work, so I called work and informed them that I wouldn't be able to make it. Of course, HR had some complaints about me not calling beforehand, but I didn't care. I stayed home, and my husband was honestly worried about me. He kept asking if I was okay, and I told him that I just felt a little bit sick. Because of how down I was, my husband decided he wasn't going to work that day as well. He stayed back to take care of me, and he even told me that I should tell him whatever I wanted and he would get it for me. I was so worried, and it was showing in everything that I was doing. When I tried standing from the bed, I staggered and almost fell, but he caught me. He asked where I wanted to go, and I told him that I wanted to go to the toilet. He led me there and told me he was going to prepare some herbal tea for me. I told him that I would really appreciate it. Then I closed the door and sat on the toilet seat where I cried my eyes out. I was in big trouble. What was I going to do if my husband found out that I was pregnant? We hadn't been intimate for quite some time, so he would definitely know that I was cheating on him. Plus, I didn't want children. To me, they were a restriction on dreams and achievements, and I had a lot that I wanted to accomplish. I was feeling depressed because I didn't know what to do. I was lost. I hadn't even told Alex about the pregnancy. I didn't know how he was going to take it. But most importantly, I didn't want him to have a say in what happens with the pregnancy. So with all that, I wasn't even sure I wanted to tell him. After crying my eyes out and thinking over and over again about what I was going to do, I washed my face and came out of the toilet. And when I came out, I saw Mark sitting on the bed with the biggest smile on his face, but he was crying as well. I didn't understand what was going on. Was he laughing or was he crying? Was he happy or was he sad about something? I quickly walked to his side and asked what was going on. That was when I saw the picture of paper neatly folded in his hand. The first thing he said while looking into my eyes was, "We're pregnant?" I couldn't believe it. I quickly reached into his hand and pulled out the piece of paper. I unfolded it and saw that it was the pregnancy test result. My heart and breath first ceased in panic, but then he asked again, "We're pregnant and you didn't tell me?" That was when I realized that the tears he was shedding were tears of joy. I was confused. I didn't know what to answer, but I just opened my mouth and words began flowing. I then told him that I didn't know how to tell him because I had already told him before we got married that I didn't want children. And now I was pregnant. It was like I was going against the very thing I had told that I wanted. He asked me how it was possible, since I was on birth control. Seeing how happy my husband was about the pregnancy, thinking it was his, I decided to lean into it. I told him that I didn't renew my birth control when it expired. I made him think that I didn't renew it on purpose because I wanted to try and get pregnant. He jumped for joy and asked me what made me change my mind about having children. I cooked up the perfect story about how during Bring Your Child to Work Day a year ago, I felt sad when I saw my coworkers with their children at work, and I decided that I wanted a child. He was so happy that he hugged me tightly. He told me that he knew that we agreed on not having a child, but along the line, he began wanting kids, but refused to bring it up because he didn't want to upset me since it was against what we agreed. It was like the universe had answered all his prayers. You should have seen how happy he was, and how he raised me up like I was a trophy or something so valuable that he just earned and he was so happy to have. He hugged me tightly and kissed me, then he reminded me that whatever I wanted, all I needed to do was ask. That night, I woke up very late to drink water, and I saw my husband on his computer. He was searching for designs of baby cot beds, details on how to take care of a baby, and what to expect during pregnancy. It was like he was doing research for an office presentation because he had a pen and a book in which he took notes, and he browsed the internet. He seemed very determined. It made me smile, and I think that was the first time I felt a spark for my husband in almost or over a year. But that feeling of joy that had been missing in my household didn't seem to last, because just a few weeks after my husband found out that I was pregnant, I slipped up. I guess you truly can never have every hole covered. Just as my husband casually found the pregnancy test result poking out of my purse, he found something else this time. While I was pregnant, I didn't stop hooking up with Alex, and no, I hadn't told him about the pregnancy. One day after work, Alex and I went to a hotel and had a very intense moment that I could never forget even if I tried. He left before me, and I left afterwards. When I got home that day, my husband wasn't home yet, but he came back about an hour after I returned. He came to me and told me that he rode with his boss to a meeting that evening, and they passed by a hotel, and that he saw me coming out of the hotel. I didn't have an excuse for that, so I denied it bluntly. I told him that he must be mistaken, because after I closed from work, I was so tired that I came straight home. I never went to any hotel, and that I had never even been to the particular hotel that he claimed to have seen me at. My husband told me that he was pretty sure that it was me, but I just laughed and told him that he must have been missing me so much, and that was why his eyes were playing tricks on him. But I think I was getting sloppy because just the next morning, my husband was looking at his debit card and decided to look for it in my bag, which was just in front of the wardrobe. And inside, he found the brochure of the hotel that he said he saw me at, the hotel that I claimed that I never been to. I walked in on him going through my bag, and I pretended like I didn't know he had seen the brochure. I just asked him if he had found the card, and he told me that he had not. That was the beginning of my crash. My husband became suspicious of me. I clearly lied about being at that hotel. I guess he began asking himself why I was there, and most importantly, why I lied about it. All these questions must have made him start questioning everything, because only a few days later, he asked me when the last time we had been intimate with each other was. The truth is, if he had asked that question before the pregnancy, I would have thought that was his unsubtle way of saying that we haven't been intimate in a while and that he wanted to make love to me. But hearing it at that time, while I was pregnant with another man's child and claiming that it was my husband's own, my walls went up. I knew instantly that he was becoming suspicious. He and I hadn't slept with each other for a very long time. We hadn't been intimate in almost a month before I found out that I was pregnant. When he asked that, I told him that I couldn't remember. Then I joked about how only a weirdo would be counting the amount of times they've had sex and when last they had sex. After that, I knew that I had to do something to get his mind away from that. I needed to make him stop thinking of the timeline of my pregnancy, and I needed him to stop snooping around the things I didn't want him to figure out. So I decided that I was going to kill two birds with one stone. I didn't care that my husband was so happy about the pregnancy. It didn't change my perspective about having children. I still didn't want to have the child, so I decided that I was going to have an abortion and lie that I had a miscarriage. That way, I wouldn't have the child anymore, and Mark would be more worried about me, and his focus would only be on my well-being. I knew I couldn't have the abortion and be at home, so I took a sick leave from work for a week. Then I lied to my husband that I had a work trip that I needed to embark on. I told him that I was going to be away for about a week, and that was exactly the amount of time I was away. I had the abortion, spent some days away, and I came home. When I returned, my husband asked if I was okay, stating that I looked drained. I told him that I was okay and that he didn't need to worry about me. But that night, I slept with a bag of fake blood between my things, and I woke up in the middle of the night. I woke up crying, and my husband woke up as well. The bed was soaked red, and so was my husband. He quickly put on the light and was horrified when he saw the amount of blood that was there. The next morning, he took me to the hospital for a checkup, and all I told them to check was if I was still pregnant. It was confirmed that I was no longer pregnant. I broke down, crying and wailing, and saying that the world was against me. My husband was also heartbroken. He held me and comforted me, telling me that it was going to be okay. I asked him why it had to happen to me. He hugged me tightly and told me that he didn't know, but he assured me that it would all be fine. I put on the performance of a lifetime. I wasn't just crying, I was gasping and crawling and screaming. After that display of utter horror, I shut down entirely. I didn't talk for almost 2 days. I stayed in the guest bedroom because I was pretending to be so terrified of our room that I couldn't stay in it. My husband was so concerned about me that he even started staying with me in the room. I was acting depressed and horrified, so I stayed inside the room for like a week. And even when I started talking, I spoke with a very low tone and spoke with very few words. I was trying to be as convincing as possible. My husband made sure to come home early, and he even asked his sister to come stay with me on the day when he was away at work. She was a writer, so she could do most of her work from home. She would sit beside me all day, writing while I just laid on the bed, staring at nothing. She wasn't a very chatty person, and I liked that, because she didn't try to make me have a conversation I didn't want to have. She only spoke to me when I needed something, or she wanted to ask me where we kept whatever she was looking for at a given time in the house. But you want to know the funny thing? Things got twisted. Alex and a few of my coworkers came over to the house for a visit. My boss was all about team spirit and keeping in regular contact with coworkers, and after missing almost 3 weeks from work, he was worried. He was also amongst those that visited that evening, and I was so stunned to hear their voices from the living room. My husband was talking to them. He told them what happened, and they were so shocked. I heard my boss saying that they had no clue on what was going on with me. He asked if they could see me, and my husband said he didn't know because I had been very secluded. But while he was talking, I got dressed and stepped out. Everyone was so surprised to see me, but most importantly, they were shocked by how I looked. I had bags under my eyes because I had barely been sleeping, and my eyes were full as well from too much crying. I looked drained because I hadn't been eating. I was purposely starving myself. They all offered their sympathies with me, and I pretended to be moved by it, and when I spoke to Alex, he was really worried. After they left, my husband helped me get back into the room and into bed. That night, I told him that I wanted to go back to work. He told me that he didn't think that was a good idea, but I told him that I needed to. He told me that he was going to give me a ride to and from work. I told him that I wasn't a baby, and after much debate, we agreed that he would only be dropping me off at work for the meantime. Neither of us had a car. I couldn't drive, and my husband was in an accident a few years back. His car was completely wrecked beyond redemption, and he nearly lost his life. After that, he decided not to buy another one. He dropped me off at work the first day, and after I went in, I saw Alex through my office window. He was driving into the complex, and when he got out, I saw my husband approach him. My heart stopped for seconds, but there was nothing I could do. I just stood still and waited while tapping my feet impatiently. When they were done talking, Alex came into the office building, and I quickly rushed down to him. I asked him what my husband was talking to him about, and he said that my husband remembered him from their visitation, and he was asking if Alex could be giving me a ride to and from work every day, at least for a few weeks. He said he agreed. I nearly lost my mind. I was so terrified. But that was exactly what happened. For about 2 weeks, Alex picked me up from home in the morning and dropped me at home at the end of the day, and we capitalized on the opportunity. Alex had no idea that the whole miscarriage thing was a lie. He never even bothered to ask if the child that I claimed I miscarried was his own or not. And honestly, I didn't care because I liked that he wasn't asking me questions that I didn't want to answer. Sometimes when he'd drop me off at home, my husband would be home and would welcome him in for a drink. And sometimes when my husband wasn't home, we'd have a moment right there. And the amount of times we slept together increased. It was as though I was making up for all the time that we weren't together. My birthday was around the corner. I didn't want to celebrate, but my husband did. He told me that I had a lot to be thankful for, even though I didn't feel that way because of the miscarriage. I didn't want to argue with him, so I agreed. I told him that I didn't want anything big, just a small birthday. He smiled and told me that he would handle everything. On the morning of my birthday, I got a call from Alex. Alex was panicking. He sounded terrified. All he could say was, "Everything is out. I'm doomed. My life is over." I asked him what he was talking about, but he was sounding too frantic. He was rambling, and I couldn't make out anything he was saying. My husband asked me what was wrong, and I told him that my coworker, Alex, sounded like he was going through something. He recommended that I call Alex back and try talking to him. I nodded and dialed Alex's number. The first thing I said to Alex was that he should calm down and tell me what he wanted to say. I heard shouting in the background and the sound of things breaking, and the next thing I knew, the call ended again. My husband asked what he said, and I told him that I couldn't hear anything he said. After that, I said that I was going to check on him at work that day, and my husband asked me to do so. We both prepared and went to work. But when I got to work, I didn't see Alex. I tried calling him, but he didn't answer. The entire day just felt off. I was so worried that I began asking our coworkers if any of them had seen Alex anywhere. None of them had seen him, so after work, I thought about going to his house. But I couldn't just show up in front of his house and ask about him. Besides, I had a party to get to. Some of my coworkers were coming to the party as well, so we just went home together. When we got to the house, some of my neighbors and friends were already there. My husband was home as well. They sang a happy birthday song for me, then my husband wanted to give a speech. He called me the most resilient person he knew, and that he jokingly said that I might be in the wrong profession. Everyone laughed, and then he said, "Seriously, though?" He recommended that I go into acting because I was wonderful at pretending. Things began taking a turn. Everyone was confused at his statement. He then said that if I had gone into acting earlier in life, that I'd have been a movie star by now. He then said that he knew everyone was confused, and that to help everyone understand what was going on, he was going to simplify things in one sentence. He said I cheated on him, got pregnant for another person, aborted the baby, and claimed I miscarried. Everyone gasped in fear and horror. I got up to protest it, and he handed me my birthday gift. It was a wrapped box. I opened it and saw my chats with Alex printed out. There were pictures of me and him coming out of the hotels, pictures of me kissing Alex in the living room of the house, and there were payment receipts of the hospital where I had my abortion. While I was there lost in thought, Alex barged into the house, and my husband announced that the protagonist of the story has finally arrived. Alex was crying. Mark had sent all the proof of him cheating to his wife. He was devastated, and he was so mad at me for going through the abortion without telling him. Everyone at the party watched as hell broke loose. It was the worst night of my life. And to wrap it all up, Mark said that he had no clue how I was able to keep on lying, pretending and acting for so long. He never stopped digging since he saw that hotel brochure in my bag, and he had been trying to pretend, but it was so difficult for him. But I make it look so effortless. He said he couldn't be with someone like that. After that, he told me to leave his house. Update. It's been a few months and it's like divorce is in the air. My husband divorced me, Alex's wife divorced him, but if that was the only repercussion, maybe I would have been fine. But it was more than just divorce. I lost everything during the divorce. The house, all the money I had. Trust me, divorce lawyers aren't cheap. My family has disowned me. They couldn't believe the things they heard that I did. I think out of everyone, my boss was the most disappointed. He looked at me like I was a curse. Alex and I lost our jobs because apparently my boss wouldn't work with people he didn't trust, and we betrayed his trust, especially me. Mark hasn't spoken to me in like forever. In a time that we should be bonding together, he has completely blocked me out. I don't even know where he stays at the moment, and I see a lot of you blaming me for everything that happened. I'm not saying I'm proud of what I did, but why did my husband have to just ruin my life? Now I have nothing left anymore. I have lost everything good. If he had just compromised, then our marriage would have worked. But no, he had to be the righteous one. I wouldn't have even minded if he cheated on me as well. At least we would have been okay. We would have had an understanding. But he forced me into tight corners that made me take extreme decisions. So at the end of the day, he's so cruel. I hate him so much for destroying me before walking away.